That's the gallery view. Or no,
Gallery view, yeah.
speaker view shows them all.
Oh, okay, I've got it. I've got it. It's gallery view. Sorry.
Yep, gallery view.
I can't see with my glasses on close up.
Take them off.
So that's why I take them off, because I'm like, I can see better. But they're supposed to be bifocals, and they're not quite adjusted right for some reason.
Well, you got to get one of those dollar store things so you can see your full screen well bottom around. That's why I got these pretty white ones.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say, you need your sun hat too. And your ski pole, I guess, or your paddle.
Well, that's Mount Denali.
Adjusted right for some reason. What now?
All right.
It sounded like Vicky, I thought.
Yeah, I heard a voice.
Oh, that was
somebody here that we don't see?
No, I wasn't talking.
It sounded like Vicky. I heard a voice.
Is Vicky on the feed? Okay, well, do you want me to start then?
Yeah.
All right, it's 7:04. All right, so welcome to Apple Cider, our meeting for June 10th, our virtual meeting on Zoom. I hope everyone's doing well. And we'll see how many people we have there. I'm on gallery view, so I only see 6 people. In front of me, Dennis, I see you, I hear you, or I see your picture. And Carol. And I'm sure Steve will let us.
Dennis, you're muted.
Yes, you're muted, and so is Dennis, which is okay. So, again, our virtual meeting here, I guess we can pretend we're at East High and waiting for everything to happen. Maybe, well, since next month we might have our cider picnic at David Chamberlain's house. And then August, where we're going to have that meeting, and then September, hopefully the school will be open again, and we'll be able to have our actual meetings then. So we'll see how it goes, month by month. So Steve, you want to start with announcements?
Well, I'm not sure what announcements we have. It's been very quiet. There have been, I think we talked about the latest releases. Yeah, WWDC is the next big thing we're expecting. So that's Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, and it is going to be a virtual conference this year. So they're not going to have a physical conference. So everything's going to be online. Let's see. It's June. What day in June is it? They haven't said what day in June it is. So we're in June, so it's gonna be pretty soon. There's a lot of interesting rumors about what might be announced. Excuse me. There are still there's iMacs that could be updated. There are the 13-inch. There we are. So June 22nd. The 13-inch MacBook Pro is expected to go to a 14-inch model, like the 15 went to a 16. The biggest rumors that are circulating around is that the move to ARM is going to happen. So right now, Apple is reliant and hampered by Intel getting the CPUs available for putting in the Macs. And so they started using their own A-series chips in the phones and the iPads that they're making themselves, which are ARM-based, which is a different type of processor. And there are a lot of rumors that Apple's going to work on an ARM-based machine chip to go into desktops. Generally speaking, the ARM processors are a very low power and pretty high performance. There's a lot of debate on the new iPad Pro that has the A12Z processor in it on how much more powerful in a computer it might be. But if Apple controls the silicon, they don't have to wait for Intel to come out with new machines. And so, let's see. That's the let's see what here we go. What to expect? Apple Insider is always pretty good at rumors. Right now, Apple has to wait for Intel to come up with a new chip before they can make a new computer. And so Intel is on the 10th generation of machine. And if Apple doesn't have to wait, then they can just do it all themselves. And so we'd be able to get faster chips faster. That was last year. Wait, am I in last year's or this year's? No, I'm in this year's. So always one of the problems about looking up stuff on the internet is what year are you in? Let's see, what else? Oh, yeah. So this is one of those articles that doesn't really say much of anything. Oh, this was actually pretty good. In 2005, the switch from Motorola to Intel, because Motorola's were too hot, and Intel's were able to get the faster processor. The Motorola G5 was the last of the processor. That Motorola
Can I interrupt you for a minute? I just got an email from George about a Zoom invite.
Yep, it's in his email, and it's on the Apple CIDER website.
All right.
There's been a lot of rumors about these AirTag things, which are similar to the Tile or Tracker, a little Bluetooth type device that you would put on your luggage or in your wallet or something, and it uses a beaconing system so that if you happen to use the device, then it will beacon itself whenever someone else walks by it, and then your phone will ping and said, your device was seen at this location. There have been notices. No, not notices is the wrong word. The inside the code that has been found, that's been released. There are lines of code for AirTags. So maybe that'll be coming out in the new iOS 14 that they're expected to announce at WWDC. So the new macOS 10.16, they'll probably announce. So what's going to be nice this year is that because it's all going to be virtual, you can watch the keynote online. You'll be able to watch all the sessions online. Now, if you're not a developer, there's the 14. If you're not a developer, then a lot of the sessions may be a little too much for average people, but a lot of people like watching the keynote, and it's really neat being able to see how the code is made and what might be happening. There may be a new version of the watch coming. So pretty much Apple's conference, developer conference, is designed for the developers to know what hardware is coming and what software is coming, so they can get their programs ready to work on the new hardware. And so that's going to be, what did I say, end of June, 22nd to 26. So we'll see what happens then.
I was going to say, Rick, did you stay out in the sun too long? Can you hear me?
He can hear you, yes.
I looked at him, I thought, who was that? And then I'm going, is that Rick? The beard?
That's a different Rick. Playing with his overlays.
That's a nature Rick.
Yeah.
Out in the wilderness. Okay, well, I didn't hear anything back from George, so I don't know. I told him where to go, and I know he should be able to do it. I don't know.
Well, we can always tap for a minute.
The link in the email worked because I just went there and did it on Shirley's iPad.
Yep, I used it myself.
Yep.
All right, well.
The front page works too. And we do have about 8 people watching on YouTube. Yeah,
Oh, well, that's
the
Cool.
link on the website works too.
okay, good. All right. Yeah, because George is giving a presentation, so it better work.
It'd be nice.
Something just happened. My whole setup just blanked out. Did we just lose power? No. YouTube died. Hang on. Talk amongst yourselves, Shirley.
I was going to say, I hope everybody is doing well. Today was a nice, warm, sunny day. I didn't think quite as hot as I anticipated it being. But again,
enough.
it's hot enough, yes, and tomorrow it'll go back down to 60 again for a
Good.
few days. It seems like we can't get like a stretch of nice weather that stays the same without dipping up, dipping low, whatever.
That's the only thing to worry about now is catching a cold, you know, with big weather changes.
That's true, because now you turn your air conditioning on and now it's nice and cold, then you go outside, it's nice and hot, go back and it's nice and cold, and you get all those, you know, depending on how susceptible you are to stuff along with everything else. And I guess, you know, with the virus, now everything's starting to open up a little bit. So people, I think, are kind of raring to go like, oh, you can go back to where they used to be kind of thing. So we'll see how that all goes.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people afraid to go out yet, so.
Yeah.
That's true. I think it's all kind of, you know, take it in moderation, sort of like. And I know a lot of people have been out doing all the marches and protests and stuff like that. And but I do see most people seem to be wearing masks and stuff. So, you know, I saw one thing where a woman said, you know, we're all social animals and it's hard not to congregate when something impassions you that you want to get together with your fellow man and do things. Hey, Charlie. So I can understand that, especially when the weather's nice, you all kind of want to get out and do stuff after being without it for like 3 months. So
Has Dorinda opened her shop?
she's opening next week. My friend Marie, who has been chomping at the bit for 3 months to get her hair cut, was after me every day. When's she opening? So she made an appointment to be one of the first ones. She said, my hair has never been this long and I have a mullet. She said, I don't care. Do something. So they can't. Yes, and I thought my hair looked pretty good, but I have a lot of white hanging underneath there that I was like, oh my God. So we shall see, but I guess you can't blow dry your hair.
Uh-oh.
So I guess you can get your hair washed and colored and maybe cut, but if you women want to have a style, you can't have the blow dryer going with the brush to make a style.
Really?
It's been so hot and windy today, all you have to do is just walk
Yeah, just go
outside.
outside.
Yeah, I was gonna say wash your hair, go outside, sit outside in the sunshine.
So no blow dryers, huh?
Yes,
That's a
but
strange one.
that is for phase 2, but since we're going to supposedly open for phase 3 tomorrow, I don't know what they're relaxing the rules, how much that affects her. Just say maybe they can do blow dry now after that point.
Oh.
But she's been like sanitizing the salon and putting up distance things and all sorts of stuff. So her big complaint was all the cost to buy all the equipment to do this. You know, the temperature guns, the face shields, all the sanitizing stuff, everything. So
Yeah, we're dealing with that at the Eastman School of Music too. We're trying to figure out how to have all the students come back and be in classrooms and how to sanitize things between classes and how do you...
I mean, it's almost like impossible in some instances to
It's
do
gotta
that.
be
I mean,
one of the hardest. Yeah.
It's really tough. Eastman is essentially the equivalent of like a vocational school You know,
Yeah.
it's like you're learning how to weld, except
Yeah,
you're
you
learning how to
can't.
play your instruments with
There-
other
And
people.
with others.
It's really, really tough. So we're working out what's possible and trying to figure out how many dollars is it really going to take to reopen in the fall that we hadn't anticipated spending at a
I
time
think-
when we're not pulling in as much money as a university.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is like, how do you open certain businesses with, you know, like the hair salons, like you're doing, you know, facials. You can't do a facial. Well, you know, you got to have massages, things like that. You know, how do you do it? But they wear gloves, they wear masks. I mean, you can sanitize your skin for what you're doing, and then, you know, sanitize in between each customer, because I assume each customer takes a little bit of time, you know, to do a tattoo. It's not like 2 minutes and you're done. So you could do it to a point, but it's just, you know, too much socializing with us. We're just like, it gets to a point to be almost impractical in some ways, you know. Well, we'll see how it all ends up. What, are you Michael Jackson now, Rick? What are you doing? Oh my God. A creepy Michael Jackson. He looks like an alien Michael Jackson. So, well, Steve, are you up and running?
I am, but the YouTube stream is messed up
Okay.
because I keep losing power here or something. Everything keeps cutting
I don't know
out
why
and
you're
back on.
losing. I don't know why you're losing power. There's
All you
nothing
can
going
see
on.
is the top of your head.
Well, maybe the grid is overtaxed.
Yeah, air conditioner cutting on and off.
That could be. Do you want me to turn it off? Because I know every time it does certain, I can see the lights flicker. That could be. Do you want me to turn it off?
Can you guys hear me now?
Because I know. Yes.
Yes.
I can see the lights flicker. And now we're getting an echo. That could be. Do you want me to turn it off?
Can you guys
Somebody
hear
has
me
their
now?
mic and their speaker open at the same time.
Lights flicker. And now we're getting an echo. That could be. Do you want me to turn it off?
Can you guys hear me now?
Like something from,
And now we're getting an echo.
from the internet.
It was Charlie. He's using an open mic and an open speaker. So the mic picks up the speaker, which echoes back in.
Okay, Charlie.
You got to use headphones, Charlie. You can't have an open mic and open speakers. We're also nearing the 40-minute mark on Zoom. So
Wow.
when it fails, just click the link and get back in again.
Okay.
So
We've got 9
we've
minutes.
got a 9-minute timeout.
Yeah.
Let me see if I'm going to hide the Zoom window and try to get the
If you
Safari
guys need me
window.
to host it in the future, I've got the paid Zoom so that we can do recordings as well as
Oh, cool.
lots of attendees and unlimited time.
All right, thanks, Dennis.
Just let me know.
Hopefully, we won't have to use this very often. We could pay for it ourselves. $15 for a meeting isn't too bad. And well, if we do the board meeting, then it's 15. Well, Zoom is generally $15 a month. So somehow what happened is the screens are all super magnified, and so the YouTube stream is just giant letters or Shirley's forehead.
Rick.
Let me see if I can bring up my QuickTime window. The QuickTime window is supposed to be the iPad.
Oh, Rick. Oh my God. Well, so while we're waiting for Steve here, is who is interested in attending the picnic next month?
Maybe.
Okay,
Depends.
okay, it's a month away. And like I said, I've been talking to Dave Chamberlain, who volunteered to use his backyard. He has a pool, he has an outdoor refrigerator.
It's a big pool too. I looked at it in satellite view on
Oh,
Google Maps.
yes, he's got tables, he's got all sorts of stuff. And Carol, he has margarita mixer. So he's ready to make margaritas in his little mixer. I said, I'll go for that. So, yeah, so he's fine on his end. So all we have to do is, see how many people would be interested in going. And then who knows? It's all up and all up and all up and all up. Certainly have to. Really?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Not my problem, I think. Anyway, we're still having, I've been checking daily, and we had about 24 new cases a day for the last couple days. I'm not going to go to the picnic unless we get down to none.
Yeah, I know. So it's fine.
That's where I stand.
It's all going to be like where we're at, a month from now. I mean, we don't know. It's still a mystery. So we'll
Okay,
see.
so can you go ahead and talk with Dave? Well, we'll talk next week at the board meeting about it.
Yeah, we will. But I just figured I'd kind of get an idea now since Steve put it on the little message there about it, the picnic. So on the website. So, and I did talk to David quite a bit today. So I told him we have to go talk at the board meeting and get back to him about what's going on. All right, Steve,
What
you
if we
still?
thought about doing it in July? Then we'd know
It is
more.
July.
Or
It will be July.
July,
Yeah.
August.
We could. It's a thought. I mean, it's in his backyard, so unless he's going somewhere, which he says he isn't, then it's really just a matter of whether he says yes or no.
Yeah, it would just give things more, I sort of agree with Charlie. I'm waiting for that 0 number and I'm not seeing it. We've come way down, but
I don't
not even into single digits. And so,
I don't think we're going to get down to like nothing. I think it's just going to carry on and be there, but hopefully it won't go way up again
right,
and stuff with all this reopening. But again, there's also, because they're doing more and more testing, there's going to be more positive testing,
yeah,
for it. So it's going to show more numbers, but it's going to be the people who are actually hospitalized and stuff too that you have to look out for.
The number that they're looking to for safety is the reinfection quota. If you're reinfecting more than one person per case, then that's considered not safe, but you're reinfecting one or less per person, then it's considered relatively safe.
Yeah, but you look
Follow what I'm
at,
saying?
Yeah.
I've been watching the numbers of total testing, you're still getting 94% of the people are negative.
yeah, which is good. And I know being outside is safer than being in a small room with people, so.
Yeah.
Right.
It's 94% of 2% of the population.
Yeah. But that's still of the numbers being tested, so that's still a big percentage are coming
Well,
negative.
the good thing going onward will be that they'll get more and more people tested, get closer to finding solutions,
Right,
and that's where it's going to lead to.
I'm open for a vaccine, but this not going to be for months.
We know that's coming, but again, I keep hearing promising things where they say, oh, within a month or so, they have some companies that if it goes forward, they will already have something. So we just have to, again, wait and see. And
yeah,
and you don't know, like,
no more at your board.
I would say most people don't have it. It's a small percentage that you're worried about. So again, you don't know, are you a carrier and you just don't have symptoms? I mean, it's so unknown.
And if I were 40 years younger, I wouldn't be so worried about it either.
Well, we're all in that kind of older age group where it's all about, how healthy do I feel? Do I want to take a chance? What do I do?
Yep, exactly.
It's something to think about when you're, just a simple thing of wherever you go to congregate that you never thought about before.
Yeah, but it's really nice of him to offer his backyard and his pool. That's nice of him.
Yep. Yeah, because I wanted him to say, maybe he got scared off and said he didn't want to do it just to have an idea, but he was like, I'm fine.
He's on the YouTube chat, and he's got,
yes, he said
the
he's
pool is
watching
heated, and August is okay if we need to.
Okay,
Okay.
he's watching car races tonight.
Oh.
I just read that NASCAR banned Confederate flags.
Yeah.
Yes, we just heard that.
That's going to be a big issue in the South where NASCAR is so popular.
I'm very surprised at that, but yep, more headlines for sure.
The number our number were 4 and 2 point infection and infected one other people. If every infection exists today infects less than one person, that's considered relatively safe.
Yeah.
So that's the key. According to Fauci, that was the number to be looking for.
All righty, well, let's try going to my QuickTime Player window. And so what I'm going to do here is we're going to talk about some settings. Oh, and I got to get that little thing out of the way as much as I can. So one of the things on settings, which is kind of neat, is general. And that, general, has a lot of information. Someone mentioned if we've already talked about this one too, because it's so informational. Is that no? That's too redundant. So one of the things it tells you is what software version you're running, and in later models it gives you the actual name and model number. Okay, so we just lost our our Zoom feed. So I'm going to start that back up again. And YouTube, too many things are going here. YouTube is still running. So Zoom is starting back up again for everyone that wants to get back into it. So the Zoom, Zoom, YouTube is still going. So the other thing that the About tells you is how many songs and how many videos, how many photos, how many applications. So you have that information there. You can see what you're using. And one of the big ones is capacity, how much storage space your device has and how much space is available, which is one of the trickiest ones. And 32 gigs on my iPad used to be really big, but 32 gigs is pretty small these days. And so a lot of people are going for the 64 gig models. So you get that extra storage space to be able to lean into it. So also in general, my iPad is telling me that I have a software update available. Because I was running 13.4, it's telling me that 13.5 is available. And I can download it and install that. So I'm gonna do that later. Because I don't want to do it now while we're giving the presentation. One of the things that some people like to do is in display and brightness. You have, starting with OS 13, you've got a light mode and you've got a dark mode. And so, as its name implies, dark mode shows everything dark and then goes back to light text, where light mode is everything is light with dark text. And so what happens is, in the early days of computers, we actually had green screens. And then when the Macintosh first came out, the whole big thing was the paper white screen and the black text, just like your piece of paper. So we were always joking that if that had been reversed in the early days, because it used to be a black screen with green letters on it, would everyone be excited about the light mode moving in now? But now we're excited about dark mode. And one of the neat options is it will automatically switch from light mode to dark mode. And so there's an automatic tab, and you can then have a until sunset. So I've got mine set so that at sunset it goes to dark mode. So as it gets darker, the iPad will move. Hang on.
George is on the phone. He said he can't get the Zoom invite. He's tried opening it all, like he said, it's coming up with the same thing I had, and he can't.
Is he on his iPad or on a computer? I can't. I'm in the middle of something.
Okay, what are you on? Are you on your iPad?
There should be a button that says Launch App.
He's on his iPad.
Hit the Launch App button.
You said Launch App for Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or use the link on the CIDER
He
webpage.
said he tried and he couldn't get it. When he went to Zoom to open it,
Yeah, and I just lost my connection again.
so he went to Zoom and he said join a meeting. He said he says ask for the account, so it's the same thing mine did.
Because that's not how you do it. You have to tap the link that has the account information already in it.
Okay, apparently there's a link that you have to tap.
It's in the email or it's on the website.
He said it's on the website or in the email.
All right, so can I get this back? Lost. All right, now we're back. So a lot of people like that setting, so that you can either have a custom schedule of when you want it to go light, when you want it to go dark, or you want to use the sunset to sunrise. So when I will often read in bed at night, and will need to have don't want to have the super bright screen at me. One of the other things you can do is under brightness, you can lower your brightness a little bit, and that also helps with the battery life. The lower your overall brightness, the lower the battery is. And so then what it will let you do is use a little less battery because you've got a little less bright of a screen. And let's see, the next setting is called night shift. And what night shift does is lets you shift the colors of the screen into a more warmer color. So it's a little yellower and takes away some of the bright blue that will often keep you awake. That's sort of what the theory is. What wakes you up in the morning is that bright blue light. So I have mine scheduled to go from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. Or you can also have that shift when you go dusk to dawn. Now you also can do manual changes. You're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna see this change on the screen. Yeah, it doesn't change on the capture, but it does change on your actual screen. If you want to see what the warmer looks like. So when you go to less warm, it actually makes it yellower, I'm sorry, bluer, and when more warm is yellower. It looks really weird at first, but you get used to how yellow it is over time. And then the other option for help saving battery life is auto lock. And so when you're idling the iPad, and most of this works for the exactly the same for the iPods too. And I just noticed my camera's not working. Sorry about that. Things keep breaking and coming and going, and well, I get a picture of what I used to look like. Neither camera wants to work. I don't know what's going on here. So in brightness, auto lock is on idle. When you don't do anything for a while, it will lock the screen. So the shorter your auto lock, the more battery you save, because it locks the screen faster. But if your auto lock is set too long, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or even never, then what can happen is it uses your battery too much, and so you may end up running your battery too hard. And then some people that are a little older will like adjusting their text size. So I've got my text size set a little bigger than normal. So you can increase the text size, and so you might notice everything sort of dynamically jumping into bigger sizes, so you can read it easier. or if you want,
I'm lost here.
to
Are
smaller
you talking about system preferences? Where are you working, doing all these changes?
I'm working in settings.
Settings.
Yes.
On a phone or on the computer?
On the iPad. But the same thing works on the phone.
Okay, I'm on my computer. I didn't see any of that stuff. Okay, never mind.
You can also boldface text if you have a visual impairment where the text isn't bold enough. You can see that. So a lot of people like going through and playing with a lot of this stuff. A lot of these settings are also on the computer in system preferences under display, especially the night shift settings, and accessibility to make your text bigger and smaller. Let's see. Yeah, no, I know we talked about iCloud before. One of the things they've added in OS 13 is I just lost the screen again, sorry. There's a battery option. Let's see if I can get my screen back here. There we are. And so on an iPad, it shows you the battery life, and it shows you the charging capability, how charged it is when the screen was off, and the battery charge level. And I've got it set to now show the last 24 hours, or you can see in the last 10 days. And you can see how much battery life you've used. And it also shows you what apps you're running the most and how much has used the most power. On the phone, it also gives you a full charge capacity option to tell you how healthy your battery is, especially because the phones had an issue where if the battery is too weak, the phone can shut off because it doesn't have enough power to do something intensive. So Apple added a feature to slow the processor down so the phone won't crash, and everyone was happy until people found out that was slowing the processor down, and they got all mad. So let's see. One of the things that's handy in passwords and accounts, you can see all the accounts you have loaded and get into see what service you're using on each account. And one of the really cool things is the website and app passwords at the top. I'm not going to go into that because I have too many passwords. I have 711 saved passwords, but this is where you can go to look up a saved password if you need to type it in some website that won't accept the autofill from the system. This is very similar to the keychain utility in the Mac as well. Get that out of the way. And when you go into that, it's going to want either your Touch ID or your passcode to authorize it's really you doing it. So somebody can't pick up your phone or your iPad and just jump into the password setting and see your passwords. So that would be bad. Oops, I just turned that the wrong way. Hang on. So that will let you go in, and you'll be able to search through your list of passwords. So I've got 711 saved passwords. So you can search through them in order to, there's my camera back. You can search through them in order to find a password you're looking for, especially if it's something that has it starts with a T, then that would take you a long time to get all the way back down to the bottom. And then you have different settings for your different types of programs. So your mail settings, whether you want to be notified, so what notifications you want when you get mail, banners and sounds and badges. So if I go into that notification setting, you can pick which accounts you get your notifications on. So a banner is basically a big thing that pops up in the middle of the screen. On the computer, the banners come in on the right-hand side of the screen. And what that does is show you the stuff that you're actually getting when it comes in. And then the badges is a smaller version, and then the sound option is what makes a ding, if you want it to do that ding or not. So this is where you can tell it, I want to be notified of mail from my work account, but I don't need to be notified of mail from my home account at the moment. So that's a kind of a handy option you can do. And one of the things that I really like turning on is the CC fields. So you may remember in the olden days of actual carbon copies, we had a CC field where you had a carbon copy that was sent to someone else. And then you had a special one called a blind carbon copy, which meant everyone got copies, but no one could see who else got a copy. And that's one thing that a lot of email people don't use like they should. And you might get an email from people that has 100 other email addresses stuck in the system. Yep, I just lost everything again. Hang on. I wonder. All right, now everything came back tiny. I can't win either way. If I make that big, is it going to come back? All right, that came back. Let's see if I can get anything else to come back. I think this might be a short meeting because nothing wants to work tonight. It just doesn't like my house because it usually works okay at East High. Let's see if I can get that working. No, all right. So that camera's working now.
Sorry to bother you, but it jumped me out, so I won't let me back in.
Same way you got in the first time.
You went and had to fix it.
Tap the join meeting and then tap the launch
There,
app.
It doesn't do anything.
Because you're doing it wrong.
I don't understand.
You're in the wrong place.
Why?
Go to the website or the email, and you don't even have the page open. So go to the email. You have to do it from the web page or from the email. So join the Zoom meeting. Open the page in Zoom. And there you go.
So why didn't it work for me?
Because you don't know what you're doing.
That's true.
Yeah, you gotta tap the right button and then it works. So it looks like George got back in or in. So yeah, so turning on that 2 in CC is a really good thing to do. All right.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep. Hey, George. I think I'm going to disconnect my iPad and we'll move on to the next thing because I keep losing my connections here. Let's see if Shirley got back in. All right. Shirley is in and muted. Hi, Bob. For some reason, you were the last to talk, and so it's got you big.
Hey, George, you got there.
Hi, girl.
Hi.
Alrighty. So, George, are you able to do anything? Do you have a?
Yes, sure.
You have your thing. I liked your email you sent out with the beard or hair.
You like that?
Yeah.
Arlene said she liked the biker one better.
I'm trying to decide who you look like with the hair on. Some celebrity host or something.
As you can see.
He looks like The Rock.
I have to wear the hat.
Howie Mandel.
I have to wear the hat, otherwise you get a lot of glare.
For us or for you?
Uh, what does that tell you? Oh well. I just take it as it comes.
All right. Let's
Okay.
zoom
I guess we lost Rick. All right, well, I guess, Steve, you can continue now that we're all up and running here. I hope.
All right. Okay, that's back. So let's see.
I think Rick is watching the YouTube now.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, George, you want to head out? Or yeah, head out. Take over.
Yeah. Okay, first I'd like to say good evening to everybody. This hacking cold and cough that I've had goes on for about 7 weeks, and it's been really kind of devastating for me. So I tried to keep up with the user group and send out as much as I can. I sent out seven articles on what makes a good photo. Went into a little bit more detail on that than I did at the meeting. I did send you out something on using Comic Sans as a font that said, oh, you really should use this, you should use that. And I just tell you just use whatever the hell is comfortable for you, whatever you like to use in a font, whether it's an email or just something you're sending out. If you like to use Comic Sans, use it. You want to use Times or Helvetica, use it. Whatever you're comfortable with. I sent out a little book review on physics of thought. I enjoyed the book, and there's a lot of humor in it, but it was written by a theoretical physicist. So part of it, that towards the end, it gets a little bit. You really have to think a little bit, but it was a very good book. Drive DX I sent out. Drive DX was a piece of software that you want to use to, if you're checking out your hard drive, you want to be concerned when you think a hard drive is going to fail or not. Drive DX is an excellent piece of software. And I think I've used all of it that in the past 20 years. Anything I could think of that would let me know the condition of my hard drives when I think something is going to fail. So I found Drive DX was excellent. In fact, when I used it, it told me that I said, watch this drive, basically. And lo and behold, within a week, that drive started to fail. And I ran down to the store, got another hard drive, put that in, and did all my things. And then it gave me a failure on one of my externals. I mean, it couldn't have come at a better time for me. So Drive DX is an excellent piece of software, and it sends you out emails when it notices that something is expected in the near future with your hard drive. I sent out a funny little article on, but it's too slow. A friend of mine went out and demanded that I buy him a $4,000 iMac years ago, which I did. A $4,000 iMac. Moved everything over, and son of a gun, he booted up the hard drive, booted up the iMac. Oh, boy, this is absolutely great. However, all the software was running, it was the same, and it took him just as much time to do things on the new Mac that it took him on the old Mac. Believe it or not. The only thing was it booted up faster. And that's the only advantage that he had. Even with 16 gigabytes of RAM, it took him just as long to do things because he wasn't an advanced user. So anyway, but it's too slow. That was a funny article. The last three that I sent out, of course, on iOS had to do with duplicate photos remover. That was a freebie. on the App Store. And it's great that with that software by Remo, it allows you just open up your photos and it goes in and you can just get rid of all your duplicates. You just click on the duplicate you want to remove, etc. Excellent software, and it's a freebie. And on the iPad, it's great because it's touch screen, so you just click and you just tap, 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 and delete whatever you want. Good software. And I liked it so much that I actually went out and spent $20 on getting the duplicate photos remover for my Mac. Now on the iMac, I think I had maybe about, 4,500 photos. And but on the Mac, I organize my photos a little bit differently than you do on iOS. On the Mac, there's times on the Mac when you have a photo and you put it into separate folders. You might have a photo that you really like and I want to do it. In fact, I was supposed to do a teacher conference where I was going to do a demo on photo organization and stuff. And on some of it, let's say on what makes a good photo, as an example. So I take a photo and I took that photo and I put one into session 1, take another photo for session 2 kind of thing. Now you may have the same photo in duplicate folders, and there's a reason why you may have wanted to do it that way. Okay, so if you go into duplicate photos remover, it's going to see all these different photos. It's going to see all these folders with the same picture. So you may have 4 or 5 duplicate photos. So and you're going to remove them all? Well, no, because I wanted them in there for a specific purpose. Okay, and another problem that you could have with duplicate photos remover, say if you had, say you ran the software and it came up and it showed you 4 or 5 duplicate photos. Now it shows you all these 5 duplicate photos. So your first reasoning is, well, let me just get rid of the first 4, or let me get rid of this photo 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be a fallacy. You don't want to do that because you may have something that looks like the same picture. One photo may be a RAW file. The second one may be a high-res JPEG. The third may be a low-res JPEG. The fourth could be a PNG file. The fifth one could just be a 72 DPI. So which photo is the one that you want to get rid of? Oh, no, I'm sorry, which is the photo that you want to keep? So therein lies the problem. In duplicate photos removal, when you look at it, as you click on each one of those photos, on the right-hand side, it shows you the photo that you clicked on. Underneath that photo, you'll see the location where the photo is, and it gives you the size of the photo and the date underneath it that it was made. Okay, so that's where you have to be careful of what photo you're going to remove, and it's not. And as you go down the list, one set after another, you have to be careful which one you throw away. So, the software doesn't tell you that. So that's one you have to be careful of. But other than that, I love the software. The only problem, it's not a problem, it runs $20 for the first 6 months. There we go. After the first 6 months, it's $9.95 for the next 6 months. So it's a subscription. But when you need it for the first time, it's well worth the $19.95. You can always cancel the subscription service later on. But that's important, okay? For me, it was well worth it because I had like 4,500 photos. The first day I used it, I deleted 1,000 photos. The first time I used it. The only thing is you have to be careful, so it's a 1-by-1 when you click on the photo to delete. You just click a checkbox, delete, go to the next checkbox, delete, scroll down to the next set, click the checkbox, delete, scroll down, click the checkbox, then you just go up on top and say, remove those to the trash. Okay, so it's a manual thing. It's not an automatic deletion. So you have to remember that it's a manual deletion, but at least you know where all your duplicates are.
And that's probably safer.
That's a good thing. Pardon?
Oops, it's probably safer to have a manual.
Yes, it is.
Because you don't want to accidentally delete everything.
Yeah, and besides doing the same photo, identical photo to delete, you can do. There's a checkbox on the bottom where it's similar to. So if you want to do it, say you're doing photos, and you click on one and you can just do. All of a sudden, it'll pull up a rose, and it's going to pull up all the roses because they're all similar. So something else to consider. It's a powerful piece of software for $20. And the last one I sent out, that was yesterday. I sent that one out for the Mac OS. And last night I sent out the Carbon Copy Cloner. Now here we go. Carbon Copy Cloner. I've been using Carbon Copy Cloner, or just CCC. Let's call it CCC. I've been using CCC 3 for probably a couple of years. And overall, I've been using CCC for maybe a decade, well over 10 years. I think the company it's an excellent company. They've been around for 15 years. They really know what they do. So I took CCC and I bought it, $40. Is it worth it? Oh yeah. Consider what happens if you don't use a good piece of backup software. Now I've also used Super Duper. It's a kind of a toss-up between Super Duper and Carbon Copy Cloner as probably the two of the most popular backup pieces of software. Super Duper is $10 cheaper, $29.95. Good software. The reason I really like Carbon Copy Cloner more than Super Duper, Carbon Copy Cloner, when you're making your backup of a hard drive, Carbon Copy Cloner lets you do oh God, it wants you to do it's tough, right? It's tough as soon as you start reaching when you get over 80 years old. You can do your be with me, Steve. Come on. It lets you do, well, they both do bootable, but oh yeah, it lets you do your restore. Okay, with CCC you can do your restore partition. It will let you do a restore partition. Super Duper will not. The other thing I like about the Carbon Copy Cloner is that if it sees an error during a copy, it'll continue, and it will let you know what that error was at the end. It'll give you like an incident report in your hard disk. Super Duper will fail when I'm doing a backup copy. If it has a read error somewhere, like a bad sector, it will stop. And that's it. It'll stop and it'll end. And I've had that happen maybe after about 3 hours of backup, and all of a sudden it stopped. And then now what? So somewhere you had the error. It didn't tell you where the error was. So now you have to go back and start a backup copy all over again and try it for the second time. So I didn't like that about Super Duper, where Carbon Copy Cloner, it took care of that for me, and it gave me a good backup copy. And if there was a problem, I just had to let go down, and it told me, hey, you got a problem here. This is what your problem was, and then take care of it. So I liked CCC for that. So that's about, I think that's about 8 or 9 things that I've sent out over the past month and a half or so. So as long as you guys, nobody has said, take me off your mailing list, so I'm assuming that you guys still want me to continue doing that. So things that I noticed that for me was really of interest, I do these software reviews, and I typically send them out to user groups for their newsletters. So when I do that, I just CC everybody in our group. Hopefully that it'll be of interest to you. How's that? Is that okay, Steve? Shirley?
That's pretty good.
Okay, thanks, kids. Back to you, Steve. And unless there's some questions, somebody has questions on that.
I didn't see any questions in the YouTube chat. I used to use Carbon Copy Cloner, but when he went commercial, he needed to. I don't begrudge him that, but I don't use it enough to justify the expense. So I moved over to Super Duper. But now that you say it does the recovery partition, that's interesting too, because I've been looking for a program that will clone a drive, including all the volumes at the same time. And all of them I've looked at will just do volume by volume. You can't clone an entire drive. So I've got a drive with 10 volumes on it. I want to make a copy of it, and I have to do 10 separate copies.
Okay.
I'll have to look at Carbon Copy Cloner again.
Yeah, take a look at the one that's out. You get a free download, a free trial download, Steve. So I'd probably say, yeah, that's a good shot. Current version is 5.1.18, I believe. That's the one I downloaded. But I think for most people, they'll probably find that just stay with Time Machine. Time Machine does your daily backup. It doesn't do a clone, of course, but for most people, Time Machine, it works. It's free. It's by Apple. It's excellent software. Just hook up a little USB drive, and you're home free. If you like cloud backups, you got Backblaze, you got Carbonite, but that's, again, you have to pay. But that's a cloud backup. I don't like cloud backups at all, other than, well, I just say I don't like cloud backups other than what Apple gives me. But cloud backups, you never know if a company's going to go out of business. You never know when they're going to go raise commercial rates. You just don't know. You're at their beck and call. They have your data. What do? Back to you, Steve.
Yeah. And one of the other issues with cloud video is that all of your data is on someone else's computer, and so you have to trust that other company. The better ones will encrypt the data first, which is good, but some of them just encrypt it during transit, but then it's stored decrypted at their end. So you have to watch out for that. And then you were saying something else that sparked something, and then I lost it completely again. Time Machine Backup. Time Machine Backup is nice because it's built in, but one of the things to keep track of is make sure it's still running. We have had so many people come into our store with problems, and we look at their Time Machine Backup, and it's a year old, it's 2 years old, it's 5 years old. Time Machine starts warning you when it's more than like 3 or 4 days old. You just have to go look and make sure in your Time Machine menu that there isn't an error message, and go back and look between your Time Machine, and it will tell you when your last backup was. So make sure you check that every now and then to make sure you are backing up.
Yeah.
We had a question in the chat about the distinction between a cloud backup and what Carbon Copy Cloner and Super Duper does. Basically, both Carbon Copy Cloner and Super Duper, and Time Machine for that matter, will back up to a local storage drive at your own location. Cloud backup is you're backing up to someone else's computer somewhere else. CrashPlan, Carbonite, whatever. CrashPlan used to have a neat option, and we recommended it for years, where you could put a hard drive at a friend's house, and theoretically they could put a hard drive at your house, and you could back up over the internet to that hard drive at your friend's house for free. So that gave you an off-site backup. You want to have some sort of off-site backup, whether it's a cloud backup service, or you have 2 backup hard drives and you take one to work and back and forth, or put one in a safe deposit box somewhere. Worst case, we had a customer come in last year where they had a fire in their house, and the roof collapsed and covered the computers with burning lumber. And then they were all submerged underwater as the fire department put the fire out. So they brought these computers into us and said, "Can you recover the data?" it's real hard to recover data from a melted computer. So you want to have an off-site backup that's not local to your computer. Who was it? Francis Ford Coppola, the director, had a problem where someone broke into his house, stole his computer, stole his backup drive sitting next to the computer. And so you want to have a backup drive somewhere else. Another question in the chat about backup. Time Machine will not back up to 2 drives simultaneously, but you can have 2 drives configured and it will back up sequentially. So it will back up to 1 drive, then it will back up to the next drive. And they added that 2 or 3 system versions ago, which was nice to be able to have multiple backup drives. So you can have drive A, B, and C and rotate among them, and so that you continually rotate between having your local drive and then a backup drive in a fire safe. That's another thing to keep in mind, that most safes, especially a personal safe you get at home, it may not be data rated. It may be fire resistant for paper, but paper burns at 451 degrees. There was a famous book about that. So your hard drive will melt at a much, much lower temperature than that. So you need to have a data-ready fire safe if you're going to store your hard drives into it. And in fact, there's a company, let me bring their website up. There's a company called IOSafe. And what they have is they actually have okay, now I got to make this window smaller. They have, basically, it's a hard drive in a fireproof safe. Oh, and they're having a Father's Day sale, $100 off. That's pretty cool. And so you can see they have their personal one is the IOSafe. There's the G3, the Solo. So they have personal versions, $399 for 2 terabytes. So it's not that expensive comparatively, but you have this really cool fire-resistant, weather-resistant case. And somewhere down here, it will give me the 1,500 degrees for 30 minutes, or fully submerged up to 10 feet for 72 hours. So a lot of people forget about water. You've got a fireproof safe, but then there's going to be a lot of water when the fire department puts the fire out. So it's got to be water and fire. They've got a pretty cool demo somewhere on their website where that will they basically build a fire around the drive, set it on fire, and then put the fire out and pull the data out of the melted case. But inside the case, the drive is fine. Another nice option is a network drive. Apple's Time Capsule used to be the network drive. Oh, looks like we're at our 40-minute link on Zoom again, so everyone on Zoom is going to have to rejoin. So a network attached drive, like the Apple Time Capsule used to be, will connect to your network instead of connecting to a single computer. And so what that does is especially handy for people that have multiple drives, so that when you have multiple computers, you don't have to have a drive for each computer. You don't have to carry a drive around between your computers. You have one drive on the network, and it will back up everything on your network. That is a little bit more expensive, $1,000 for 2 terabytes. Let me see, was this one the less expensive one or the more expensive one? Yeah, here. So if you really want, you can have a 70 terabyte backup drive if you really need 70 terabytes. But there are some, especially in the video arena, people will do massive storage arrays like that. The Solo, $299 for 2 terabyte for the Solo. That's fine for residential use. So it's a nice way to have fire disaster recovery, especially for a small business that you run everything on your computer. You don't want to have fire, flood, theft put you out of business.
The Zoom thing all stopped, so I think everybody got dropped out and trying to get back in.
They're getting back in. Yeah, YouTube is still running though. So that was backups. We'll go back to this window again. So the Fat Cat software that George was mentioning, Power Photos, is their big one. If you're still running an old version of iPhoto on an older OS, they have a program called iPhoto Library Manager, and that also works with iPhoto to manage your duplicates, to have multiple libraries, to merge libraries together. That's another thing that Power Photos does, is merge libraries. So say you have a photo library on your desktop and another one on your laptop. This will merge them together and eliminate the duplicates, which is pretty nifty.
Hey, Steve, I had some issues this week with Catalina. I was trying to upgrade from Mojave to Catalina on my server. And I ran into this thing where I noticed if I tried to look at the applications on a different volume once I was in Catalina, and both volumes were pristine Catalina, it wouldn't show the applications or the utilities. It would just show like some of them. I might see Safari, I might see the utilities folder, but if you went to open it up, it didn't show any of them.
We have seen that Catalina doesn't like partitions. And so it wants to, because it makes its own. Catalina actually splits your hard drive into 2 volumes without you noticing and without you seeing it, because it still shows you as one volume. One volume has the operating system, and the other volume has the data. And I'm trying to see, why are we not speaker view? Why didn't it jump to me? We'll jump it to me in a minute. So with Catalina doing its own partitions, I almost wonder if it just doesn't know which volume you meant, because it already has multiple volumes by itself. I have long, well, most of the time, stopped using multiple partitions on a drive. The one exception from that is some of the service drives we have, where we need to have tools for System 10.9, different ones for 10.10, different ones for 10.11. So we have some diagnostic drives that have each OS on its own partition. But then when they went to APFS and containers, it got tricky with Mojave and Catalina. So it's
well, this was even looking across drives. Like I could have Catalina on one drive and a Catalina on a different drive, you know, and it wouldn't show up the most of the applications nor the utilities. It's very weird.
No, I haven't seen that before.
Because
if you mount a Catalina disk on a non-Catalina OS, you'll see the separate volumes, and they both look like they have a user folder, but one of them is empty and the other one actually has the data. So it's
no, I know what you're talking about there, where you've got one that's labeled data and the other one isn't. It's for the OS. But no, that wasn't the case here. It was very strange. The other thing I noticed was that Super Duper didn't seem to do a good job of copying, but Carbon Copy Cloner did a good job.
Yeah, so it's something that George had mentioned about Carbon Copy Cloner doing all volumes and not just the main one. And I wonder if Super Duper has been updated to know about Catalina's dual drive container system. Every time the OS changes to something weird, all the utilities have to update to fix themselves.
Yeah, Disk Warrior still is lagging behind. They haven't done anything.
They haven't done anything for even APFS since 10.13.
I don't know what's wrong with them, if they've just decided, you know, they're not going to do the work or what.
They keep updating it to run under the new OSs, but it won't repair a new drive. You can use it to repair your old drives. But I haven't found... Well, part of the problem is APFS isn't supposed to get corrupted. So there's... Maybe they just don't want to put the effort into updating something that isn't needed because it's not supposed to be corrupted, so you don't have to repair the corruption. But we find it gets corrupted frequently anyway, which is annoying.
All right, well, thank you, Steve.
Yep. Well, does anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I had a machine that I bought for Vanessa, and it was having a problem where I could click and I select an icon on the desktop, and I double click to open it, and it wouldn't open. And I played around with it, and I discovered that I can right click on my mouse in the upper right hand corner. If I click it, I get a text menu, and I can go there to open. Like right now, I'm looking at a folder, upper right hand corner, I click, it says open, click, and the folder opens. That problem I had on that machine that I bought for Vanessa, well, now it's her machine, but my machine, which is 27-inch, fairly new, about a year and a half maybe, now it's doing the same thing. There's icons on my desktop. If I double click on them, which I always was able to do, they don't open. They select, but they don't open.
One of the things we've often seen when that happens is your double click speed is too fast. So in short, you're not clicking twice fast enough for the computer setting. If you go into your system preferences under the mouse settings, you can make the double click speed slower so that you don't have to click so fast. There's also, I believe, an accessibility setting for the same thing. Let me see if I can find that. Part of the accessibility options for, there we go, double click speed. Let me see if I can get my system preferences window into the YouTube system. And I'm going to add a window capture. Call it system prefs. So there's a lot of things in system preferences that change for no apparent reason, and we're not sure why, but it does seem like it changes here. Where is my system accessibility? There we are. System preferences. Oh, and of course, the picture is way too big to fit, so I'm going to make that a little smaller. There we are. So since I have a trackpad in the newer OS, it's a different option for double click speed, and so you may have your setting may have gotten set too fast, so you're not clicking fast enough for what it thinks a double click is. Another thing some people like doing with a laptop is when you have a mouse connected, have it ignore the trackpad so that you don't accidentally move the cursor or click with the trackpad when you're using an external mouse. So that could be something for you to look at.
Yeah, it's it's not a debilitating problem because I can right click and I can use the menu, but it's a pain in the ass. I should be able to just double click and open it.
Yeah, you can also use the keyboard Command O to open a selected icon.
I'm aware of that. It's just a nuisance.
Yep.
And the other thing that happens to me, I told you about this, but maybe somebody else has some ideas, is my cursor disappears. I'm doing stuff, and all of a sudden the cursor is not there. And I move where I assume it would be. I move in towards the upper right-hand corner. And when I get up there, I shake it around a little bit, and it comes back. Then I can use the cursor, but it has this irritating habit of just disappearing on me. And then I have to fiddle around with it to get it back.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. What I end up often having to do is switch to another app, and that will bring the cursor back. I haven't been able to get it to come back just by moving it around or wiggling it. But switching into a new app, it comes right back, and then you switch back to your first app, and it stays there. It's some weirdness in the user interface where when you're typing, the cursor disappears to get out of your way. And I think what's happening is something is calling that procedure, so it hides your cursor when it shouldn't.
Yeah. Now I do have hot corners enabled, so I go to different corners, and I'm not sure what each one is set up for, but maybe when I go there, that helps to bring back the cursor. I go always to my upper right-hand corner, and the cursor reappears.
Yeah, that could be. It's invoking the hot corner function and then uninvoking it when you move the cursor away, which is enough to refresh the cursor.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we're coming up about on 8:30. Have anything else to add, Shirley?
I don't think so. I think you, between George and you both answered enough of what's going on. I mean, it would be an earliest meeting we've ever had if we ended 8:30, but that's an hour and a half still. And since you don't have to tilt things around and disconnect them and clean and drag stuff, I mean, that's pretty good. Right? Right, George? I see that. Yeah, you just go and sit here and pop a button, and here you are, right? George, you have mute on.
Now, if we just had some refreshments, Shirley, you know,
that'd be
great.
Virtual refreshments, yes, that would be good. I think Dave's thing of making margaritas sounded really good, since he had a margarita maker. So he's got mixes for watermelon margaritas and regular margaritas.
Oh, no, that could be the tipping point for me. I don't know.
Yes, I said, I know there's two candidates right there. Tonight would be a good night to go out for a margarita. Go ahead, George.
I said, I think there's one good thing about the virtual meeting is that you can have adult beverages and not have to worry about driving.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
I think
save all that drive time too, you know?
Yeah.
Charlie, it can get really late.
All you have to do is seatbelt, put a seatbelt on your easy chair so you don't fall over, you know.
Yeah. Charlie had a question first, Bob, and then we can get back to you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Well, or you can ask the question while Charlie's typing his. Unless Charlie wants to unmute. All right, so Charlie's question, he has an iPad plugged into power. He get his lightning bolt, but the battery level is dropping. The big question is, which power adapter are you using? My guess is it's an iPhone adapter at only 5 watts and not the iPad adapter at 10 watts. And we've even seen the iPad Pro has an 18-watt adapter. And the bigger iPad Pro is we have a 12.9-inch iPad Pro at the office on our demo floor. We have to put the 29-watt adapter on that so that it can run and charge at the same time. So basically, Charlie, your iPad is using more power than the power adapter is pushing into the iPad. So the net effect is that your battery level is draining because it's not getting. You're using more power than it's getting. So you can upgrade to a stronger charger that has more power to it, and that should help as well. If you've got really good eyes, and I know a lot of us older people don't anymore, you can look on the adapter, and it will give you voltage and amperage or wattage. But if you do volts times amps, you'll get watts. So usually it's 5 volts at 1 amp for a phone, which is 5 watts, or the iPad one is 10 volts at 1 amp. Charlie says he's using the bigger adapter. If you can look at the adapter and see if it's a 10-watt. They started coming with 12-watt adapters for a while too, because 10 sometimes isn't completely enough. And if he unplugs the lightning adapter and plugs it in again, it seems to work. It could be that either your connector or the socket is dirty, and there's a speck of dust blocking it from making a clean connection. So try blowing out the socket with some compressed air, or cleaning the cable with a little isopropyl alcohol and then letting it dry enough. See how that works. All right, Bob, you got a question too? Yeah.
This is my thing. This is what we need when we have questions. You can just pull them up. But I discovered I'm using Mojave as my operating system on this iMac. And probably most everybody's moved on to the next one. Should I do that?
Catalina is a very big change. With several caveats. One is it's 64-bit software only. So if you have any 32-bit software, it won't work. Most people don't know if their software is 32-bit or 64-bit. If you go into system information, there is a section for applications. So if you go to the Apple menu and then About This Mac, that brings up your About box. Then if you go into System Report, that brings up system information. You can go to the Applications line and it will tell you whether your application is 64-bit or not. Or you can download a free third-party program called Go64, and that will scan through your computer and find any 32-bit apps that will stop working. What we have often seen is it's older Microsoft apps. You need Office 2016 or later, or QuickBooks and QuickIn. You need 2017 or 2018 versions or later. But a lot of people may have an old utility they like, an old game they like, and that may stop working with the Catalina upgrade. The other thing too is we've often seen Catalina run a little slower on older machines that still have a spinning hard drive rather than a solid state drive. And Catalina really likes to have at least 8 gigs of RAM, if not more. Since Catalina came out, and every new computer had at least 8 gigs of RAM and a fast-itch hard drive, if not an SSD. That's sort of what it likes.
Yes.
Yeah. George.
Question, Steve. What was that free software?
Go64.
Geo?
Yep. It's
Go64.
Yep, it's from St. Clair Software.
Okay.
It has an icon as a little interstate route icon, Route 64.
Okay. And that's on the App Store?
I don't know. It's on their website.
Okay.
It may not be on the App Store because it has to look through every single app you have, which
Got
I
it.
doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, the sandboxing wouldn't let that happen.
Okay.
And so if you have a newer computer, you have at least 8 gigs of RAM, or you have a solid state drive, it's probably okay. Make sure you have a good backup first, just in case. So if things go wrong, you can erase the computer and go back down. But I've on my Mac Mini, I've kept it at Mojave. In fact, for a long time, I was at High Sierra. I didn't upgrade to Mojave because it sort of started the trend of older computers running slower with a newer operating system. On my 2012 Mac Mini, I've kept it at Mojave. On the 2016 MacBook Pro, because it's got 16 RAM and an SSD, I have upgraded to Catalina. I did lose a lot of my audio editing programs and had to go through and find new editors. I had to find the new MP3 tagger to do the podcasts with. And we have heard that Wine is not 64-bit compatible, so you can't run Windows applications in Wine anymore. You have to move to one of the commercial alternatives. So that can be a trick. So yeah, with all those caveats in mind, sure, Catalina works.
Most of those don't apply to me anyway. I'm not system heavy. I'm not doing a lot of shit in any applications. And I use Safari and I use Zoom. That's about it.
But if you have Adobe software, that's one you want to check. That's a biggie. That's expensive stuff.
I don't have any Adobe software.
Yeah, the Creative Suite that everyone was still using because Creative Cloud was a subscription.
No, I don't do it. I'm retired.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah.
I have an iMac 09 and it's running 10th High Sierra, and I'm waiting for the new ones to come out with the next stuff. What should I be doing to prepare this one for the moving over to the next system?
Delete things you're not using anymore. That way you don't have to copy things you don't need. What we sometimes recommend, and actually what I just did on my Mac Mini, trying to make it a little faster, is I did the full backup, and then I did an erase and install the new OS, the Mojave, and then restored my data but not my applications. So all the applications that I've carried along the last 10, 20 years from previous Macs, I just started reinstalling the new apps I'm using, and that seems to have helped a bit for the speed on my 2012 Mac. But yeah, deleting things you know you don't need anymore. Checking for compatibility updates for newer software. If you're running anything from Adobe or Microsoft or Intuit, you may have to upgrade those machines. So it kind of goes back with the Catalina upgrade is free, but then there's $1,000 worth of software you have to buy.
Well, I think, Steve, one of the questions I usually ask people is, why do you want to upgrade? I mean, is there a reason why you want to go to another system? I mean, as long as everything is working for you, don't look for trouble, because trouble's going to find you sooner or later, But if everything is working, why change?
Well, the thing with mine is it's now 11 years old. Machine is 11 years old. So this is one of the first 27 inches. So I'm looking for a little more speed. And, I'm I'll be 3 systems back. So you're losing security and everything else there.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest big reasons. You want to replace your computer before it dies. A lot of people come into our shop after the computer's already dead, and can you get my data back? Maybe. Have a good backup, and then we don't have to worry about that.
Well, I have replaced the drive on this once already, but a few years ago.
Yeah. One of the things we started seeing is TurboTax. This year required Mojave? Or no, next year. This year required High Sierra. Next year requires Mojave?
Next year, I have to change if I want to use it next year. It won't take it.
So sometimes that's a reason that you have to upgrade. If some program you want to use requires the new thing. Charlie had a related question about system settings and application settings. The system updates have been moved into system preferences, and application updates have been moved into the App Store. So that's a little annoying that now you have to look at two places to see everything that needs updated. And you have all those little badges on multiple programs. And Catalina did come out with a 10.15.5 update a day or so ago to fix some bugs. We'll see more what's going to happen with 10.16 at WWDC, if it's going to be a new feature version or if it's going to be a let's fix everything and make it better version. So hopefully they'll do both. But some people have called on Apple to stop making these giant versions every year. They've kind of suckered themselves into a new major version every year. How about just release new features? Excuse me. How about just release new features when it's ready, not forced to have a major new version every year.
Yeah.
But
yeah, 11 years is a pretty good long run for a computer. Is it
I usually go 10, 12 years between machines, so it's time.
Is it white or silver?
It's the original. It's kind of silver. It's the 09, first 27 inch.
Yep. So people joke, or we joke with people about the color of their computer. That tells us about how old they are. And they went silver in 2007, so that's a long time ago.
Well, the IRS says that computers are about 3 years property and not any more than that. But your typical Apple user keeps his Mac 7 years.
Or more, yeah.
I'll tell you what, I looked inside. I have 3 iMacs. One is the one that I'm using now is a 2010 That one I'm running Sierra. I don't want to go any further than Sierra on that because of my software. And the other two, I have a 2002, 2009 IMAX. All three are running great without a problem. So I got to say, Apple makes some great equipment.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know?
but don't those older machines still have the 0-day security holes in them, Steve?
Probably, because Apple
Yeah.
generally only releases updates for the current version and maybe 2 versions old, at least 1, maybe 2. But we don't know when the 0 days were introduced. So maybe 10.12 is okay because that particular bug didn't come in until 10.13. But that's one of the things you do have to keep in mind, that you may be running on borrowed time. You know, something on the internet might be able to get into you.
They blessed us no longer.
Yeah. All right. Are you sure? Are you there, Shirley, or should we? All right. So Shirley is in the middle of something. She might come back, or if we don't have any more questions, maybe that's about time to close everything up. We have, it's 20 to 9, so we're not quite to 9 yet. We had up to 9 people in the Zoom meeting, and we had 10 people on the YouTube stream. So that was big. Somebody's hammering something.
We had 10 because Carol was here. She's a member.
Yep.
Yeah,
We had 2 in 1.
Yeah, two in one meeting. Yeah.
there she is.
There she is.
Sorry, had to leave.
No, that's
All
okay.
right, so do we think that we want to take any more questions, or do we think that we pretty much exhausted
Well,
what there is out there for
I
now?
need to take a quick break, so you can talk a little bit and decide what you want to do.
There she is. There she is. Sorry, had to leave. All right, so do we think that we want to take any more questions, or do we think that we're pretty much exhausted?
Oh, that's
Shirley, can you hear me?
Out there for now?
very
That's you
tight what you said.
Who's echoing?
Somebody needs to mute their mic.
There we go.
It was you, Charlie.
Yeah, it was me. Well, you know, now that I got your attention, I got a couple items. I did ask Steve one additional question when he told me to spray out the socket on my iPad. I asked him if it was okay to use switch cleaner. So when he comes back, you might ask him about that. I was going to ask you if you were chopping vegetables on the same table as your iPad, and I think maybe
No.
the answer was yes. No, really? I don't know what the chopping sound was. And my wonderful MacBook Pro has what I call the Wonder Bar on top of it, where you wonder what it's doing now. And I had tapped the mute button on that, and I didn't apparently tap exactly the way it wanted me to. But now I've done it, because what I'm doing is I've been following you on YouTube on the MacBook, and I've got Zoom on the iPad, and then but I've got earphones on the iPad and the speakers on the MacBook, so that when I talk on the Zoom meeting like I am now, I just mute the speakers on the iPad, provided, of course, that I touch the Wonder Bar just the way it wants to be touched.
Is there any benefit to all of that?
Well, you don't get, yeah, there is. You just heard it when I didn't tap it right. Any benefit? Well, the reason was I wanted to just watch and make sure the YouTube stream was working right in the course of the meeting. That's all.
I'm just using Zoom, and I'm thinking I'm not missing anything.
No, you're not. You're not. But, the stream goes out to more than just the people on Zoom.
Okay.
Maybe. Although it looks like tonight, we're sort of it, because I haven't seen more than about 7 or 8 people watching on the YouTube stream.
Yeah, but that's good, because we usually got like around 15 people for a meeting, right? So between 8 of us online plus, 8 people? We're doing
No,
about...
plus maybe I'm not sure whether it's plus or not. Of course, you're right. I mean, if I'm the only one who's got YouTube stream going at the same time, then those other people are in addition to the people on Zoom. You're right.
Right.
And one woman had difficulty joining us and finally gave up, I think. Linda Rosello or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes it's like if you're not quite sure how to make it work, you get frustrated and you just don't do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Well, I mean on the YouTube stream, I think.
Oh, that's what I mean. The device to get onto. Come on. Goodbye, Rick. It's like you're trying to learn how to do this, like mine with the Zoom button. It's like Steve just goes in and goes, boom, here it is. And I'm like, I touched that button multiple times, like I'm sure George did. And
Maybe
like,
you didn't
where'd
touch it in exactly the way it wanted to be touched. Really.
That's always the way, because Steve will go and I'll go and try to
on
do
the Zoom
something.
button. It was in blue
I
and
hit the-
said Zoom. And
I hit
touched
the
that.
Zoom button.
The second time we got locked out, I went back and it wasn't there. The blue
Oh.
Zoom link wasn't there. So it was there one time and then next time it wasn't.
Well, see, I hit the Zoom thing in the message, the email message about the meeting, and it just brought me up to like nothing, and it didn't seem to work. And then I went to Zoom on the app, and that was like, give me this number, account number. I'm like, okay, go back to the other one. I hit the Zoom thing again, nothing. Steve goes and takes it, goes, here, you didn't hit the right button. I'm like, I did hit it twice. He hits the button, immediately opens. I'm like, what is it? He has the magic touch. But he's done, this has happened before on many things where I'll try and do it and it won't work, and I'll give it to him and he'll just hit it and he'll be fine. And then he'll look at me like, why couldn't you get it going? I'm like, I did hit it. Why did it work for you and not for me? I guess he's got energy in his fingertips.
So now you see my problem?
Yeah, it's like it looks easy. They do what you think it looks like, and then you find out it's not easy. It's like it doesn't want to cooperate. Oh, I have a question. Maybe you guys know it. I have my iPad and I have my iPhone, and I have apps on both of them. But I have an account, like today, like I have an account on my iPad because that's what I use most of the time and not my phone, but then I put the apps on my iPhone, right? But it doesn't recognize my app on my iPad. How do you link them together so they both recognize the same account or whatever? Do you know what I mean? Because, for example, I'll say, this is what I did. I have a Dunkin' Donuts account on my iPad that keeps track of my points for what I buy there, right? And then I installed the app on my iPhone thinking they would be linked together, and they were not, because it said start an account. It was like it wouldn't use my info from the other one. So I'm frustrated.
I have the same account number on both.
Yeah, but why can't it be linked between the two, between the iPhone and the iPad?
It should be able to.
Huh?
It should be able to. I know, like, for using Zoom, you can log in multiple times on the same account.
Yeah, so I don't know how to get it to link, because when I looked up instructions how to do it, it said, oh, just go in settings and look at this. And I'm like, I don't have that topic under settings. So I can't tap that to say, oh, just do this, because it's not there. So
The same version of the app?
I don't, yeah, it should be the same one, because I both installed them at different times, but recently. So I don't know. I'll have to ask Steve.
Download an app, it goes to everything at the same time.
That's what I assume, but somehow there's something between my computer and my iPad and the iPhone don't get all the same information. You know what I mean? Like they're not all synced together. Like I'll get messages that are only on my computer or my iPad, but they are not on the iPhone. So I don't know.
You mean like text messages or?
Yeah, like say something comes from CIDER, it's only on my iPad, but it won't be on my iPhone, or it may not be on the computer. It's only in one area. And so it's not like they're all synced together. Like the photos seem to be okay. Like if I take a picture and it'll sync to all the devices, but on other things, it doesn't do that. which is annoying when I go like my iPhone, I'm looking up certain things. I'm like, it's not there, but it's on the iPad. So I don't know. I guess I have to have Steve sit down and spend a minute or two.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's an easy way to do it. It's just a matter of you just have to know the buttons.
I know I have some apps that I have some apps on my phone and my iPad, and they don't really talk to each other.
No.
It's just information is stored on each device, and it isn't really kept in some database in the cloud.
Yeah, well,
Stored on your device.
Like what the Dunkin' Donuts app was.
I think that one would be stored on their database, but
yes, it's like you can order from home and pick it up at the drive-thru, which I've done lately a couple times, right?
Yeah.
And it keeps track of it, and all you do is go to the drive-thru, and there's your order ready, right? So I was trying to get this special deal they had, and I couldn't get it to open, and I thought, was it my device is not working, or is it the fact that it doesn't work on that device? Didn't know, nobody to talk to. So I thought, okay, I'll just order at the window and ask the girl, which is what I did. And she said, sometimes it doesn't work right. So it wasn't me, it was their app. So she ended up just ordering it, and then I could scan it with my iPad to give me the points. But I don't know, it was just interesting how it works. So I guess the more you use it, the more you learn how it goes. I just thought it would be convenient because, you order at home and it's paid for and you just go pick it up and there it is.
I think it depends on the app. I think some apps are just better at keeping how they keep track of things. They might be putting cookies or something on each of your devices to keep track of certain information, and it's only on the one device.
Right. I think so too. It looks so easy, but yet in reality, it's not always so easy because, again, you're thinking it's you, which it could be, but it could be the app itself that's not quite prepared to do what you want. So I don't know.
Question for Rick.
Rick.
I'm curious about the app that he's using to
make himself a dog.
Yeah. Is that a Zoom feature, something that's an add-on to Zoom, or is a freestanding app that?
It actually comes out of Snapchat. This app is called Snap Camera. You can search for it on Google, and you'll find it, and it works with your Mac, and it's free. You can make your own filters as well as using other people's filters that they have created. It's
Well,
kind
you
of fun.
apply the images to Zoom, or you apply them to what? It says in there, apply this image to Zoom. And then
what it is it's called the Snap Camera, and it automatically shows you other people's faces that they've made, and you can apply them to your face, and then you tell Zoom, use the Snap Camera.
So you're using an actual different.
Should I shut down the YouTube feed? Nah.
We all still here?
Ooh, sorry.
Okay, Charlie, Carol, Rick?
It took me 3 tries to get back into this one. It wouldn't
Yeah,
let
I
me-
had to whack it a couple times to get
Yeah.
it going there. I guess that's the solution is, if it doesn't work the first time, don't assume that, oh, you don't know what you're doing. It just is, you gotta just
Yeah.
do it.
It just acted like the meeting hadn't started at all yet. Twice
Yes.
it did that.
Yes, and I'm like, I know, just have to wait for Steve to go back and
Yeah.
redo it. So Carol, since I don't know if anybody else is gonna show up here, but,
I'm gonna stop the YouTube stream.
oh, you are?
At the Zoom, yeah.
You won't, unless you want to say more to the YouTube people.
No, I'm okay.
Bye,
So I would
YouTube
say
people.
good night. Thank you all for joining.
See you next month.
Yep,
Alrighty.
see us next month and see what happens.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Charlie, you gonna hang on or you leaving too?